Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, putting together odds and ends video for you guys this week. Things are stacking up, got some really cool things and a little bit of news to share with you about the shop and things going on, just in my life in general. First off, yes, we didn't have a video this past week. You just heard me cough. That's a big reason why. I have been suffering from a pretty rough little bout with upper respiratory infection. Each spring when the pollen starts flying, my allergies kick in gear, and occasionally that drainage gets down into my lungs and causes a little bit of an infection, and that's what happened this year. My wife and I both had one pretty much at the same time, and it's been kind of tough. We just haven't felt good at all. No energy, coughing, sneezing, carrying on. But good news is we did both get tested for COVID. No COVID, it was just a good old-fashioned springtime sinus infection / respiratory infection, and I am on the mend. So this past week, really haven't hardly been out in the shop at all. A little bit, just kind of doing some sorting and going through some stuff, nothing of any significance, and in pretty small times because I just didn't feel very good at all. Also, another kind of little, I guess, setback you could say, last weekend when I came out to the shop, I had big plans on Saturday, was going to come out here and do some machining, went to fire up my phase converter, and my phase converter wouldn't start. And it was a little bit frustrating, but I pretty much had a good idea of what the problem was even before I did anything else. We had a pretty bad electrical storm that week before, and between the last time I'd come out to the shop and when I came out on Saturday, and I'm pretty sure we got a lightning strike close by and got a power surge that damaged a component on the board. Good news is that I called American Rotary up on Monday morning, talked to their technician who was absolutely wonderful, great company to work with. Guys, they're based in the U.S. I called them up. Someone answered the phone almost immediately. I was on the phone with their tech person, walked me through doing some troubleshooting out there in the box, and we were able to more or less isolate where the problem was. Not exactly, but pretty close, but close enough that they were able to send me some replacement parts, and within really a day or two, I was back up and going. They shipped the parts down to me, had instructions, took me less than an hour to swap the parts out, and presto, my phase converter is back up and running. I had shared some stuff over on my Instagram and Facebook account, just bragging on those guys for their excellent customer service. And you know, everybody that I've talked to who's dealt with American Rotary has a similar story for the most part. They're just really great to work with. And, you know, yeah, it was inconvenience. I was down for a couple of days, but those guys jumped on the problem, helped me get my problem resolved, and helped me get back up and going out here. So I did get the phase converter going, and about the time I got it going, it's about the time the respiratory infection kicked in, and of course, I was back up at the house and not in the shop, working like I wanted to be. But good news is we do have the phase converter back up and going, and again, highly recommend those American Rotary phase converters if you're looking for one. So this weekend, again, didn't really get anything done in the shop. Yesterday on Saturday, when I did get out here some, but not doing anything that required any much effort. I was still a little bit wiped out. I'm still not back to 100% by any means, but at least I'm able to talk today with a little bit of coughing and sniffling going on in between. But I did get out here and do a little piddling around, did some sorting of some stuff out. I'm going to show you a little bit of that later. But anyway, there's just a little quick update on what's been going on around here. Hopefully, we're going to be through with this crud that I got and have the power back up and going, and I'm hoping that this week my calendar at work is a little bit lighter this week, so maybe I can get out here in the evenings and actually get some much needed work done, and as well as create some more content for you guys. But I do have some interesting stuff over here, and like I said, stuff is stacking up. I got some really neat things in this episode to share with you guys. I think you're going to enjoy it, so let's get in here and do odds and ends. So first up here, got a neat little lapping plate that was sent in by Walter Plummer, and Walter had contacted me, said he'd picked this up at I think an auction or something like that. Didn't have a need for it, and we worked out a deal and got this. So let's see, it is 10 1/4 inches, 8 1/4 inches, and about 5 inches high. This is designed for lapping parts flat on. So basically, you would a lot of times you would put a part directly on this or put this on top of the part. This is the same type of thing you'd use like on a granite plate to lap it. You'd put a compound on here like a diamond dust, and you'd rub it back and forth on there. The little grooves in here are just area for the swarf to go, so anything that comes off, it gives it just a place for it to where it doesn't clog the plate up. And you can even like glue a piece of sandpaper on here and lap something on it just like that. But cast iron is an excellent for charging, holding that diamond dust in place if you're lapping like that. And like I said, you can either lap with this, lap the part on top of this, or actually turn this over. This is how it would really probably be used more than anything else. You'd have the handles, and you would just kind of do this number here with the diamond dust on it. So this one is in pretty good shape, it looks like. What I really want to do is get it over to my surface plate and blue it up and really kind of see where it's at. I mean, I can tell that there's some scratches in here. I don't think it's actually been used to lap anything in quite some time. The scratches would be a little bit finer in there if it had been being used for lapping. Worst case, if it is out a little bit, I can actually put this on my surface grinder, regrind the top, and with a little bit of lapping, the cool thing about a lap is the more you use it, the flatter it gets. So anyway, this right here, I'm probably going to use this maybe for like surface plates. I would like to do some of my own surface plate lapping. This is a little bit small for most surface plates, but it definitely would come in handy on some size plates for sure. So anyway, neat little item. Walter, appreciate you sending that. Oh yeah, one other thing, he also included in a little federal indicator here. Appears to be working good. Anyway, we'll put that over in the indicator collection. That'll probably get used somewhere around here. So up next, really nice, looks like a brand spanking new live center. This is a number 5 Morse taper. See, there's a name on it. I see some numbers on there. I don't see a brand or anything, but this thing looks like it's practically brand spanking new. And this was sent in by Stephen Jacobson out in Los Angeles, California. And I honestly don't know the story on this. It just kind of showed up in the mail. Wasn't really any letter or anything that I saw in there. I think he had sent me a note asking for my address, wanted to send me something, but I don't really know any story beyond that. But a really nice piece. And this is something that when I get my big Monarch lathe going, this should fit on there, and I'm sure that you'll get to see this thing in action because that would be a really nice size. I really like the way on some of these centers where you got the 60-degree cone on the end, but then it goes to a sharper angle instead of staying at 60 degrees, and that allows you when you're turning to be able to get a cutter back there behind that and not run into the steeper angle on there. This is more of a modern style, but I really like that style, and you see that on a lot of the newer ones that are being made now. Anyway, Stephen, thank you very much for sending that in. We'll definitely get it put to use. Well, in my last episode of Odds and Ends, I shared with you guys this really cool wooden box that was Cleveland Twist Drill Company that had the tapered reamers in it. And so if you guys notice, we were missing a few, and I mentioned that we were missing a few, and lo and behold, what starts showing up in the mail, but a bunch of these. So I actually had several viewers contact me and sent me some different ones. This one was actually sent in by Bruce Gratton up in New York. Bruce and I have been communicating and talking by email and whatever for some time now. I consider Bruce a friend, even though I don't think I've ever met him. But anyway, I didn't even know this one was coming. It just kind of showed up in the mail, and it's this size right here. Let's see if there's a name on this one. It's hard to see on there, but it says P&T Company, and it's in a little keystone, kind of like a Pennsylvania state keystone, and it's a model, a letter H size that goes right there. Can't remember who P&T Company is. That sounds real familiar, but it's not hitting me right now. But anyway, there's one of them. I'm going to set it out right now because we actually have some more sizes that people sent in. I'll show you what else we got. And these were sent in by Tom Donino down in Florida. And these are all actually the quick sets made by Cleveland. So there's the B size. We got the C size here. Let's see what other sizes we got here. This one is a size G. Just goes right there. And this one is the size I. And I'm going to take this one out because this one is an import that I previously had that I put in the case. But anyway, now I have a complete set, and a bunch of these are the actual ones made by Cleveland, who made the box as well, which is really kind of neat. And yes, another nice set of reamers. These came from Ken Johnson, and Ken told me that he had found these in a garage sale or something like that. He picked them up for a few bucks, and he just wanted to keep them from going in the trash. He didn't have a need for them, and he wanted to pass them along to me, so he sent them to me. Interesting thing, when he sent them to me, they were wrapped up in newspaper, and I've unwrapped them all. The newspaper was falling apart. And but I found the date on the newspaper, Sunday, June 11th, 1950. So I imagine that these were wrapped up by somebody in 1950. And wow, for the last 80 years, 81 years, they've been sitting in a box wrapped up. And here they are. I've got them now. So these are all duplicate sizes for me now. But I think what I'm going to do is take these out to the museum, and I'll put together some of these other sizes that I got. I'm trying to put together another set, and we'll have a set out there so that when I'm working at the museum, we can go grab a set of these as well. I've used these adjustable reamers out there many times, working on old parts, steam locomotive and what have you, where you just need to ream something out to whatever size you can get to the next size. Something that's worn and you just want to get it reamed out true. That's where these adjustable reamers really excel. So we'll put together a good set, take out there, and have them at the museum as well. Ken, thanks for sending these along. As with everybody else that sent along adjustable reamers, I think I'm set now, guys. Appreciate it. Well, I thought I had pulled all the adjustable reamers out, but evidently I missed two over there in my boxes. These came from Mitch Beck out in Louisiana. Again, don't think I knew these were coming, but they showed up, and glad to have them, and we'll put them in with the rest of them. I don't know, I may end up with more than two sets of these things when it's all said and done. We'll figure out something to do with any extras we got. But anyway, thank you, Mitch, for sending those along. Thoughts very much appreciated, and we'll find a good home for them, one place or another. Thank you, sir. All right, so next, wow, a big collection of tooling here that was sent in by Christopher Rogers up in Oregon. And yeah, wow, this is, I'd say that all this tooling, I'm pretty sure, has been used. Some of it is still very sharp. Some of it is probably needing to be reground. Some of it, I think, has been reground. But all of it is definitely usable, and there's an incredible collection of tooling here. I can only guess as to what was going on, but I imagine that these were probably used in a commercial setup of some type, and these are just old ones that, as tooling wore down, they replaced it with new tooling. But still very usable in a home shop to continue on. I imagine this was all on CNC equipment for the most part anyway. But lots of end mills here, and again, these are, while they're not perfect, they're not brand new, they're definitely very usable. And I've got a lifetime supply now of 1-inch cutters here, and really a lot of different size cutters. Also, nice box full of these center drills. These are, I use these things all the time. Those are nice to have. And again, that's a lot of them in there that I'll have for a long time. This is really neat. We got some carbide insert milling cutters here, so you can put different inserts in these pieces for cutting. That's a ball end mill, and it's got a little side end mill on it, or side cutter on it as well. These are just regular ones. He even sent along some inserts that go on these, some little torque screwdrivers, and in the boxes he kind of lined them with some of this plastic material. I suspect that, and I don't know this, but I'm wondering if these cutters may not have been machining with plastic like this. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But he used that just kind of as some filler and to kind of protect the boxes and protect the cutters. All this stuff was wrapped up when he sent it to me. I unwrapped it to get a good picture of it here for you, and I'm going to wrap it back up, put it over in my tooling cabinet with all of my end mills and stuff, and yeah, I think I'm set. I think I've got a lifetime supply here. I'll probably never have to buy another end mill again, at least in these sizes, so that'll be nice. And Chris, thank you very much for sending along a really nice collection, and yeah, this is good stuff. I'm sure it'll get used. So next comes a collection of stuff from Alton Whipke up in Pennsylvania. And Alton's, again, one of these guys that I've gotten to know over the internet through email and text and so forth and what have you. Never met him, but super nice guy, and I always look forward to hearing from him. But he sent along a couple of little things in a care package. Got a little decimal equivalent chart. There's a countersink here. Got some sharpening stones. Here's some drill bits, new old stock drill bits. Got some books, jigs, fixtures, and gauges, link belt catalog, how to use a slide rule. Only old folks know what that is. The evolution of the gear. Here's a little old-timey calculator for fasteners. This is kind of cool. You can come in here and pick which one you want, and it gives you all kinds of dimensions for different kinds of fasteners. That's kind of neat. Machinist Workshop, exploring drafting, and got some hardware here, some socket cap screws. I'll put those over in my collection. There's some return springs. Always nice to have stuff like that laying around. So Alton, thank you very much. As always, appreciate it, sir. So next up comes some parts that were sent in to me by Steve up in Oregon, and he had seen a while back I had done a video on that little Atlas horizontal milling machine, and he told me he had found one just like it, and when he bought his, it needed some gear work done in it. It needed to have some new gears, and he made a set of gears for his, and while he was at it, he made a set to go in the one that I'm going to be restoring at some point in time as well. He said as long as he's making a set, he'd just do a couple of them. So I'm assuming, yeah, that those must fit like that. They do. But I haven't even done anything with that yet. I'm not even sure where these will fit in, but I'm sure they will be needed in there somewhere. So anyway, Steve, thank you very much. I'm sure that whenever we get to restoring that, these will come in handy. It'd be nice to have some new parts for it. He also sent along this little camshaft. This is one he had made for some of his hobby work. Very intricate part. Some fancy machining there for sure, with all those cams and offsets. Impressive, very impressive. So Steve, thank you very much. Nice work here on the gears, and I'm sure those will come in handy when we get ready to work on that machine. So next comes a really neat book. I've actually looked through this. I've really enjoyed it. But this was sent in to me by Tony Gowan up in Virginia. And this is a book on the history of the Western Pipe and Steel Company that's just out near in California. Oh, it's near San Diego. And the reason he sent this to me is he recognized when a while back I had done a video on my Lucas horizontal boring mill, and I mentioned that according to Lucas, it was originally sold to this particular company here, the Western Pipe and Steel Company, back when it was built new in, was it 1918, I think is when that machine was made new. And anyway, Tony recognized the company, was familiar with it, and knew the history book was out there. And he thought it'd be nice to have a little bit of a book that talked about the history of this company. Now, they did all kinds of fabricating and steel work, but one of the things they did is they actually made ships before, during, and after World War II. Quite a few ships were made during the war, and this book here really kind of talks about a lot of the stuff that was made by the company. My hands are dirty. I don't want to thumb through it too much because it's just too nice of a book, but really nice book. Got some really good pictures in here, and I want to take this up to the house and do some more reading on there. I think it's really neat to have a tie so I know more about the company, a very famous company that one of my machines used to belong to. So Tony, thank you very much. Very thoughtful gift, and I love history, and I'm going to really enjoy looking at this and reading this book as I have some time. Up next, I'm not even going to attempt to show everything that came out of this collection, but I was recently approached by a gentleman that lives here in Tifton, Georgia, where I'm from, a gentleman named Larry Spears, who is a retired machinist. He actually he joined the Navy and was actually a machinist in the Navy, I think he told me for 16 years, worked aboard a repair ship. And then when he retired from the Navy, he came to Tifton and set up a machine shop and ran a machine shop here in town for several more years, quite a few more years. And about 10 or 12 years ago, he shut down his business. And a lot of his tools and tooling were just put into a storage building back behind his house and have just been sitting out there for years. And he's getting ready. He is getting ready to move, to downsize. He's moving over to Alabama. I'm not sure the whole story there, but anyway, he was really wanting to find a new home for all this stuff that's just been sitting out there. He reached out to me, and anyway, we worked out an arrangement on a bunch of tools and tooling, and literally, I mean, it filled up almost the bed of my pickup truck, a lot of stuff. And I've just got a little small sampling here of some of the neat things that were in there that I thought I'd share with you guys. A lot of it I've kind of sorted through and put up in the shop. A lot of it was tooling, just all kinds of little things. But anyway, some really, really neat things in there. First off, back here in the back, there was a really nice set of taper shank drill bits, and there was actually even more than this. I put a bunch of them up into my cabinets. They were a little bit rusty. I cleaned them up with some Evapco rust. They cleaned up beautifully. He told me that he kept all of his drill bits sharp. He sharpened them all by hand, and most of these are in great shape. They're all well used, but at the same time, they've been well taken care of. But anyway, nice to have these. I've got a little cabinet over there to put them in, and I had a bunch of holes with some of these different sizes, and it's almost full now. Plus, I got a lot of extra ones, and my cabinet only goes up to 1 inch, and some of these are even bigger than 1 inch. Anyway, nice set here. A lot of tools and tooling, a lot of micrometers, a lot of different measuring tools. Some of that stuff I'm going to keep. Some of it I'll probably part out, to other people to kind of help people get started, whatever. There was everything from really high-end, really nice Starrett stuff to some more import type tools. Nothing wrong with them per se, but not the high-end. But there was a really kind of a whole smidgen there. This is a set of inside micrometers here. Here's a big 24-inch vernier caliper. Really nice Japanese-made set. This is kind of neat back here. I really like this. This came out of a hardware store for taps and dies, and he actually gave me about a 5-gallon bucket full of dies, and I've been slowly sorting through those and putting a bunch of them into this cabinet here, the taps and what have you. But anyway, I've got these kind of organized now where I can go grab stuff very easily, find stuff when I need it, which is something I'm always striving for around here. But anyway, Larry, thank you so much for reaching out to me, and a very generous person. Really enjoyed talking to him. He served aboard the USS Jason, which he told me was the last commissioned Navy ship that was built during World War II that was still in active duty, and I think it was decommissioned back in 1995. So it was basically a 50-year-old ship whenever it was decommissioned. He spent most of his time in the Navy. He told me he served aboard that particular repair ship, going around as a machinist doing repair work. Very interesting career. So kind of as part of that collection of tools and tooling that I got, I thought I'd show this drawer. I'm kind of proud of it. But Larry had a bunch of dies. That there was just a whole tub full of them. And I went through and sorted through them all and got them all organized in individual bins. And honestly, too, guys, a lot of these I already had. Some of these were ones that were just in toolboxes and what have you, but I got everything sorted out here. Most of these are fractional sizes. I do have a bunch of metrics. The metric stuff is just kind of in a tub. I haven't sorted through those all together, but really nice to have all this stuff sorted out where I can use it. And again, some of this stuff is stuff I already have. So a lot of it came from Larry, but this past week while I've been sick, I would come out here to the shop and just kind of piddle a little bit, sort, and go through, but this is some of the fruits of my labor, going through some of that stuff and getting things a little bit better organized. Anyway, nice to have that. Every time it seems like I've needed to dive, had to go dig through buckets to find the right one. Now I can come out here and easily put my hands on stuff. Well, last but certainly not least is this amazing collection here that I just picked up this past week. And I was reached out to by Vince George, who's a viewer up in Perry, Maine. And Vince had told me that he had bought a cabinet, a tool cabinet, some time back, and in the cabinet when he bought it was this amazing collection of Brown & Sharpe ring gauges and or bore gauges here, ring bore gauges, as well as plug gauges. Now, this is really just an amazing find in my book. He said he had absolutely no need for these, and we worked out a deal on them. He shipped them down to me, and I am just blown away by this set. So this is just, again, I'm just literally blown away. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about them here, but you know, these would be used for doing precision measuring. These holes in the diameters on these pins are all ground and lapped to a very precise size, and these are all in fractional sizes. It starts at 1/4 of an inch and it goes up to 3 inches, and it does it in 1/16 of an inch increment. So you know, in kind of to think about it, these are kind of like pin gauges. If you're familiar with pin gauges, they're ground to a very precise tolerance, but these are ground to fractional sizes rather than to thousandths of an inch. And you know, why would that matter? Well, the cool thing about the fractional size, you know, a lot of these, they actually go out to much higher decimals, you know. So, for example, this 9/16 is 0.5625. You know, on a typical gauge pin, you would either have a 0.562 or a 0.563. This one here is actually ground and specified to the fractional size, which is a really nice feature to have if you're working with fractional size inches. So anyway, super nice set. I'm going to zoom in here and kind of show you these a little bit. They're just amazing to me. So these were made by Brown & Sharpe, and Brown & Sharpe, of course, was a manufacturer of all kinds of machinist tools and tooling. They made machines, they made calipers, they made gauging blocks, they made all kinds of stuff. Really, when you look at the Brown & Sharpe catalog from back in the day, they had a larger selection of tools in them than did Starrett. Brown & Sharpe is, for all intent and purposes, they're no longer still in business. I think they are by name, but they're really not doing the same thing that they used to many years ago. But the quality of Brown & Sharpe tools has just always been phenomenal, and these, I'm sure, are very good as well. So I actually have a catalog. Let me show you the catalog page on these things because it's kind of interesting. So this catalog I have is a 1941 edition, and these are the section here on the cylindrical plug gauges and ring gauges, and tells a little bit about them here, but talks about that the gauges are high-grade tool steel, especially selected for the requirements of the work, and carefully made, heat-treated, hardened, ground, and lapped to size. And they are very precision. Now notice that the plug gauges are a little bit different style than these. I think that the ones I have are actually older than these, the 1941 version. You can kind of see the different types of plug gauges they had. These actually had handles that you could kind of, I think, take the plugs on and off with. They ground a groove in here for the minus sizes, and the plus sizes were didn't have a groove in it like that. So that was basically the plus and minuses, just like a gauge pin. It would be just either just a tiny fraction above or below, so you could use it kind of like a go, no-go gauge. Notice here the specifications for them, they had different classes. This is the same classes they use today on gauge pins. Most gauge pins that we get are class Z, which is actually the lowest tolerance, but on like 1/4 of an inch, you're looking at, you know, what is that? That's a tenth of a thousandth of an inch is the tolerance on a class Z. When you go up to the class XX up here, which is their highest ones, it was about 20 millionths of an inch was the tolerance on them. Now, I don't know what class mine are. None of them are stamped. I'm going to assume they're class Z, which was probably the most common one, but Brown and Sharpe had the option of getting multiple classes that you could get. Just a little bit more here on the gauge pins, or plug gauges, I guess you call them, and then come over here. Let's see, here's the ring gauges. And again, they had those in different classes that were in here that you could order them from, and depending on the size, they use the same specifications that we had over on the other page as far as tolerances go. For all intent purposes, actually, let's see, here's the ring gauges. Let's just assume these are Z's. The tolerances on these are about a tenth of a thousandth, but if you had the class X's, it could be, you know, anywhere from 40 millionths to 100 millionths, depending on the size. As the diameter got larger, the tolerance got a little bit larger as well. But really just some amazing pieces here. Now, one thing that's interesting is they had the prices in here. And I actually went through and looked at all the sizes that were in this set from 1/4 of an inch up to 3 inches. And yeah, I'm missing a handful. I think I'm missing one small of the ring gauges, and I think I'm missing 4 of the plug gauges. So, you know, not very many at all. But assuming I had a full set, let's see, where's my piece of paper at? Yeah, so assuming I had a full set at the class Z level, and again, that's what I'm assuming these are, but they could actually have been a higher class. But the lowest tolerance ones on here, a full set of these things in 1941 would have cost a little over $2,000. Now, $2,000, that's a lot of money for most people in 2021. In 1941, well, in 1940, I looked it up on the internet. In 1940, the average salary for the average worker in the United States was $1,900 a year. So basically, to buy this set of tools that I got right here would have been a year's salary is what it would have cost. It would be probably close to $50,000 in today's money. If you got the highest quality, the Class X's over here, those would have been, what was it, about $3,200 for the same set. So, you know, almost a year and a half's salary for an average worker. So these were obviously something that were, somebody needed them for a job of some type, and they spent the money on them, and of course they kept them for years. These are great references, and they don't go bad. So I'm missing, the only ring gauge I'm missing is this 5/16, and it's gone right here. The 3/8 plug gauge is gone, as is, what is that one? That's the 1/2 inch plug gauge. Then I go all the way up to 7/8. I'm missing the 7/8 inch plug gauge. And then finally back here in the back, the 2 and 5/16, I'm missing the plug gauge for that one, the bigger one there. So 4 plug gauges and 1 ring gauge out of this whole set that's missing. So guys, this is, in my opinion, is just an absolutely amazing find. You know, these gauges, typically when you bought them, you would be making a part and you maybe needed a couple of sizes, and you would just buy maybe 1 or 2 of these, or you know, a lot of times you didn't get both. You were either boring a hole, you needed to do something to calibrate with, or you needed to check a hole with it, so you wouldn't necessarily buy both of them. But whoever bought this set obviously put together a reference set to have probably in their metrology lab at some company, where they just had these on hand whenever they needed them. They didn't really probably buy them for a specific job. If they had, they'd have just probably bought one size, which is typically what you would do. But to get a full set like this is just, I mean, it's pretty unheard of. Really tickled to get them. Now, one thing I will note, and it is a bummer, yes, there's a couple of pieces missing out of this collection. And I think that they're probably between somewhere here in Maine. Because when they came here, this was shipped in 4 boxes of USPS, and one of the boxes, the post office had busted a corner out of it. Most everything was in there, but I suspect that we lost a few pieces. And in talking with Vince, he said, yeah, he knew there was a couple of ones missing, but I think that we probably lost a handful along the way. In fact, when my mail carrier came up, which I will just say right now, I got a great mail carrier. My local mail carrier is awesome. He brings boxes and packages in here all the time. Super nice guy. I've gotten to know him personally. He looks out for me like he does everybody else out there. My local post office is awesome. But the service that I've gotten from the Postal Service over the last year or two has been extremely hit and miss. We've had a lot of, I've had several bad experiences, I'll just put it that way, and add this one to the list. But my mail carrier told me that whenever he went to unload the truck to put stuff on there, he noticed there was some of these gauges floating around the bottom of a bin, and he figured out which box they came from. And he said, I think these came out of your box. Is this what's in there? And I'm like, yes, that's what's in there. He says, well, I don't know how many more were gone, but he said, I rounded these up for you. So thank you very much to him. My hat's off to you. I wish that everybody at the post office was that committed to their job. And rant off, sorry if you work for the post office. Don't take it personal, guys, but let's just face it, your service isn't what it used to be, and it's a crying shame. But with that, guys, that is going to be a wrap. I did want to share this. This is just awesome. Vince, thank you so much for sharing this collection with me. I'm going to have to put together a cabinet or something to put all the stuff in and get them properly stored and organized, because this is in my opinion, this is a piece of history right here. I doubt there's very few complete sets of these floating around out there anywhere, and for me to be the curator of these is just really awesome. So thank you, Vince. And with that, that is going to be a wrap. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Appreciate your videos, watching the videos as always. Hope to be over my illnesses and mechanical issues out here, and hope to be kind of getting back into the shop and making some more chips and making some more progress on projects, and have some more content like that coming to you really, really soon. So with that, we're going to sign off. As always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thumbs up and comments are appreciated. We'll catch you on the next video.